All right, okay, let's get started. Hello, and good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast, and good night to everyone else in the rest of the world. My name is Ryan Selvey. I am your host today for Offset, the show that's taking place this whole week, twice a day, as the Adobe Live team is taking a much-needed vacation. I have the pleasure to bring on the coolest guests that I know, and I am excited to have them on all week long, both in the mornings and at night. Today we have Zachary Bromberg, who is actually my old roommate, and it's really cool because we lived in New York City together, and he is extremely talented, and it was just the beauty of New York City that brought us together. We'll be going over some video editing. We'll be talking about some film history. We'll be looking at some of his work, and we'll also be creating something together using you guys as the chat to help produce content that will then be looking at Adobe Stock and pulling from Adobe Stock as we create and manifest something great together. I'm seeing so many cool people in the chat. Thank you for being here. Also, a huge shout out to Wade Acuff for being here as the moderator. If you don't know, Wade is a phenomenal illustrator and a phenomenal live streamer, both here on Behance. And you should check out his Behance at behance.net/WadeAcuff. I have some of his work that I have to save so that I can then upload to the streaming thing so I can show it to you guys. But it's good to see Steve. It's good to see Annika, Reverb, Mike, Umacorn. I'm sure I'm going to miss a few names, so I am sorry. Jessica, good to see you again. It's really great to have you guys here. If you're over on YouTube, glad to have you here. It's good. Also, if you're in the replays, hey, what's up? But we're doing all of the chat over on Behance. So make sure you go and you click that Behance link, behance.net/live/Adobe Live, and you'll be brought here where you'll be able to talk with all these really cool people and be able to see how everything's going. So with that said, it is my pleasure to bring in Zachary Bromberg. And as I said, he can introduce himself as well as far as his background and the things he's interested in. But with no further ado, here's Zach.
Hey! What's up, Ryan?
If you guys don't know this, you would have no reason to know this, but that's my shirt. I gave that shirt back.
All my good clothes come from Ryan. All my stylish stuff.
Specifically the Daisy Dukes.
That's what I'm wearing right now as well. I'm also wearing the Daisy Dukes.
Of course. But cool. Thank you so much for being on the show, man. It's great to have you here, and it's great to be able to talk about some art in a professional setting. Obviously, Zach has a immense knowledge of film and editing, as he is a professional video editor for his full-time gig. But also Zach is very experienced in improv and theater and the whole idea of directing and producing. So he's hopefully here to entertain everybody today.
A little bit of writing.
You're working on writing something right now, right?
I got my first professional writing gig right now. Yeah.
That's really cool.
For a film coming up.
And that's right now in the preliminary stages and kind of just really concepting and breaking things out, right?
We just moved past that, so we're writing script right now. I'm pretty much taking over the first act while the other writer is kind of working on the third act, which is like a whole play within a play type thing. So he's trying to get that done, so we have all of our reference points for the second act ready to go.
That's so exciting. And it's probably really cool just to see how that breaks down and the idea of how an idea is formed and passed back and forth, especially during COVID times and after COVID times, and seeing how the collaborative process has changed over the last 5 years. And you also get to be a part of it, which is really cool.
It is.
I see that Wade is here and he's putting Zach's website into view. So I think that would actually be a really good time to actually let's check out your website.
Okay.
Check out your work.
Let's look at your work.
All right.
I love the two different versions of yourselves applauding.
What are you talking about?
Like one of you is in a coat and one of you is like in a button down.
What? Those are two different people.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I filmed it right here with a green screen. I know it looks like I was in a gallery, but I was not in a gallery. I was actually, it's all superimposed. I know, right?
I love that.
So we're here on your website. It goes straight to your connection of all your different work that you've worked on. I know that you recently worked on a Netflix show. You also have Electric Jesus, which we'll talk a little bit about, which did the circuit like a year or two ago, right?
Yeah,
when was it going through the circuit?
Pretty much. I think it was like a year ago. But yeah, kind of, you know, with COVID, it really started in 2020 and went through 2021. Like, I think everything got pushed, right? So,
right.
But yeah, and now it's available on video on demand. So go check it out. We'll watch some clips from it today, and hopefully that'll make you want to watch it. But yeah, that's all over.
Absolutely. It's cool. It's got the guy from he would be devastated if he knew that I referred to him as the guy from The Office, but
he wouldn't be. Brian is like wears that mantle pretty confidently. Well. I mean, right now he just I think he released something like a book, like a behind the scenes book about The Office or something like that. So he is pretty content,
comfortable with it.
Yeah. I mean, he uses opportunity like Electric Jesus to show that he can do other things.
Oh yeah, which was very impressive. He did a great job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we might look at one of like his big acting moment scenes. So you get to see him in like a different light. I think this is not to go to diverge too much, but I think his performance in Electric Jesus reminds me of like Tom Hanks from Doing That Thing You Do, because he's like that manager type, but a sinister kind of, or not a sinister, but like definitely a darker side to that character, which is fun.
Oh, right on. Well, since we're actually on the topic of Electric Jesus, do you want to kind of just speak to what it was and kind of what you worked with on the show? Like, what was your
I was a part. So Electric Jesus, I worked with the director and the producer of Electric Jesus on their first film, full feature film. They actually gave Scott and me this kind of pre-edited version of their old film, but it wasn't working. There was a lot of things that needed fixing, and the person who was editing was originally like the DP, and they didn't really have an editing background, so all of the audio actually was not sunk in the in the project, and they were also had like a tight deadline for festivals, and they were like, we thought we could just use Pluralize, which is a syncing program that you're supposed to do before you start, and it can work well, you know. Right now there's so many syncing programs, but at the time they were like, we'll just use Pluralize and resync everything, but it doesn't work on the back end. So I had to go in for that job. This is very early in my career, and replace every single audio clip that had made the cut, like on the back end, which just took forever. Because I also,
and this is the thing before Electric.
This is before. Right? This is called a film called Cinema to Purgatorio, which I actually have some clips for also.
Cool.
But so we helped kind of save that film and get it ready where it needed to go. So Chris White and Emily White, the producers and director, that remembered us, and when they had enough budget to put on this next piece that they were doing, which was years after that, they called us up and they wanted to be a part of the team. And then we waited another 3 years pretty much as they kind of put the pieces together and finally got the funding for it. And then when we were off to the races, So I was the lead assistant editor on this, which means that I got to be during production. I was there. Essentially they would shoot a day and then they would give me everything, and I would organize it all, but then I would also kind of do an assembly cut based on the script. So while we're shooting, we would know, oh, we actually don't have this. We really need this to make the scene work. And then we wouldn't be, left out in the rain later in post.
You wouldn't be fix it in post.
Yeah. Though this
you were in
film
the post on set.
Yeah. But this film did change incredibly drastically between production and post. I mean, it's not the same. It was a completely Chris takes the philosophy that you have one film when you're writing, you have one film when you're shooting, and you have another film when you're in post. And he really takes he doesn't like let he's adaptable like that. And he knows if something's not working that we need to adapt. And
that was also something that was a first for me to be able to experience, because I'm not in the professional film industry. Obviously I do some video editing and motion graphics on my own, but not to the extent of something like that you work on. It was really cool to see how much a movie can change. And you kind of think like, so you have the writing and you have the script. So obviously people are going to go off of that. But then you have like the director who then directs it a certain way. And so then you have the directed script that's now filmed. And then you send it off to the editor. And then it can, like, scenes can completely be reorganized. You can decide to focus on something entirely different.
I mean, we changed the main character kind of shifted, throughout the production. Like originally the focus was really on Andrew. That's the actor's name. Eric is the character's name. And then, when we got into post and we were like, it's like, even though he's the voice of the script and, he's the POV, it kind of became like, oh, the star is the female love interest. Like she's the one who actually goes on and makes it, and it's
right.
Not to give too much away, but that's not what the movie is. That's not like where the through line of the movie, but so it became like, oh, what happens when you realize that you're not the main character of your own story? And,
right.
And do you regret the things that you did? And it plays a lot with, and this is all in post, like, and it plays a lot with like memory and do I remember things the same way that they actually happen? Am I an honest storyteller, or am I full of shit? Am I and trying to tell the story as honestly as you can, even though knowing that you have your own inherent biases or whatever. And it's interesting because it's, oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I think that it's kind of an exciting perspective to have of, like, what is it, the unreliable narrator. Like you don't want to inadvertently accidentally do that, or just be like the unreliable main character. So it's kind of cool to see that attention shift.
Yeah, there's literally a part in the movie where like everything kind of like reverses, and we played with it a lot in different ways in post. In one version of post, we had like a complete song go in reverse, and we were just like, that's taking too long. We need to, so it just kind of sped that up a bit, and then it just like goes to him being like, maybe I'm, because it does play on, there are religious themes in the films, so he's like, maybe I'm the devil, like maybe I'm the not doing the right choices, and then we're kind of off to the races, and then you're choosing to believe what you believe.
All right, and so also I want to talk about Saturday Morning All-Star Hits, which you recently worked on. That's kind of a not connection. It's a collage almost of all these different forms of media kind of coming together to feel like a VHS that you found, and then is cut together to create a story, right?
So it is a really interesting experiment in narrative storytelling, because it's non-linear narrative story. Well, it is kind of linear, but it's all supposed to be through like the story, and there is an overarching story, even though like it takes you a minute to understand that is happening, because it just feels like at first a collection of cartoons, of these Saturday morning cartoons that this little girl had in her, house, that she's kind of watching and going through. But as you watch, and it takes a while, because this isn't like, again, this is a kind of more of an experimental feel. Like you get to like maybe like the fourth or fifth episode when you start going, oh, I can see there's these overarching plots, and they are changing, and these characters are going through something. And you gotta kind of watch it through to see at the end. There even is a the fact that this is all somebody's video collection, that even becomes relevant to like the big thing that happens at the end. So
yeah, and I think that it's also is a very good allusion to cartoons growing up. Like, immediately makes me think of Adventure Time, where Adventure Time felt like a one-off thing, and then the more you watched it, the more you started kind of realizing there were overarching, and it wasn't the immediate assumption that that was going to be what it was. And so it's kind of cool to have that play, you know, play tribute to that feeling as well, with using the medium that it is, which is cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Also, like, we were trying to recreate early 90s television, but at the same time, it's not supposed to be real. It's think of it like the Mandela effect. Think of it as like, this is an alternate universe that maybe could have happened but didn't really happen. So there are differences and there are changes. That the president of the country is a character in this, right? It's not the president of the United States, and it's a female president. And so it would be like in the 90s, if that, like, so it
builds its own reality.
Yeah, it really built its own reality. It's not supposed to be quite a one-to-one. And so it was a really interesting practice in creating like a world through the lens of this one television station.
Which is cool, because later during our art segment later in the episode today, we're going to be talking about Maya Deren, and she has some really strong quotes about the idea of how we shouldn't necessarily be confounded to the idea of linear structure in film, and that film and TV, she didn't know TV at this time, but film and TV can really experiment with the medium and take advantage of things that you can't necessarily do in real life on a play, or you can't do in storybooks or other ways of traditional storytelling, which is cool that you kind of have a line through with that.
Yeah, I think Maya Deren would like Smash, actually. I think it would be up her alley. Also,
you call it Smash, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. Saturday morning All-Star Hits. That's what I have to call it. Yeah, because that's the name of it. Saturday morning All-Star Hits. That's what. But I think she'd get a kick out of it. Also, like, a lot of Maya Deren's work, which touched upon like what the product to create the piece is, like, because it was film, like being aware that it's film, whereas Saturday morning All-Star Hits functions in video. And there are differences between film and video, and then what we have now, which is different than video. It's streaming is different than video. So we're trying to recreate this medium and there's a whole form of art called video art, where people take apart the components of what makes a video and then create art from it, a non-linear, non-narrative, art from that. So I think she would get a kick out of that version of storytelling.
Now, Wade's saying that he has watched about 2.5 episodes, and that it's a trip, that he really enjoys it. And
please, get to episode 5.
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time, which is funny. But we're here to talk about film anyway, so you should be comfortable. Don't worry, we won't talk about books too much. But yeah, no, I still have to catch through episode 5. It's on my watch list.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I think once you're off to episode 5, then you're going to want to keep following the breadcrumbs that kind of have been created and get to the end. But like, I think you really want to fully understand, which is kind of an ask, I get it, for viewers, but like to fully get to like really episode even 4, but to really get to that thing like, oh, I kind of see what's going on, or the patterns are kind of getting into pieces. You really want to get that far, because they'll introduce things that'll end up being plot points that are simply commercials in the first couple episodes. They're just commercials. They're just, like they feel like fluff, but they're not fluff. They're absolutely important parts of the plot later down the line.
But you don't notice it until
you would not notice
later.
it. Yeah, actually, I was watching this with my brother and my wife, and the commercial would play, and they would get up to do something. I'm like, guys, these aren't commercials. This is this is the thing.
This is a plot point. This is these products don't actually even exist in real life.
They just were so trained and conditioned, because they are 90s kids, to just, it's the commercial. I'm going to go refill my cereal bowl.
That's really cool. And so what did you do for this career? What was your role, and kind of what did your day-to-day kind of look like when you were working on this series?
So I was the assistant editor for episodes 2 and 5, though I did help work on some other episodes and some world building stuff, we got to be pretty creative. Though the creative heads of this project were in full control. Like they really liked to have things done. I've worked on different projects where, where your higher ups have like an incredibly strong vision. They want it to be stuff done a certain way. And then I've worked in ones where it's like, show us what you got. We want to, be creatively collaborative. And this was kind of a mix of both, where they'd want to see what we have. And then they'd be like, no, we really want to do it this way. And they just kind of like to play around like that. My role as an assistant editor would be, it's very similar to Electric Jesus, actually. I would get the footage, I would lay it out. I would organize it all, make sure everything's labeled properly, make sure that making sure that all the data fields have how many audio, how much audio sources are we talking about? How much that way, and we can kind of get into this as well. This is like offline editing versus online editing. And when you're offline editing, you're not working with the full materials because it would just take too long, doing simple movements and stuff. So we're transcoding the footage to all working materials, proxies, things that are going to be, easier to move around and create the story editing. So then when we move it to online, those things get kind of placed in a paint by numbers type way to their final forms and then can export properly. So what I'm doing as an assistant editor is first I'm documenting everything. I'm making sure that the script, I work very closely with the script supervisor, or at least the script supervisor's notes, and making sure that everything that was shot on the day is documented, making sure that circle tapes are documented, making sure that like an off comment that the director said about one take is documented. So we know what that, so that communication doesn't drop. So we're not wasting time being like, what was the director's favorite take here? Right. And then I lay out what's called, I'm going to use the wrong term. Then I lay out a version of the sequence with all the takes kind of laid out on it. So the editor, the full editor can go back to that and be like, what are all the shots of this? What are all the shots of this? And then I get to lay out my own assembly cut as well, which then
you get to present kind of as to be like, look, this is what I made.
Exactly. And it still has to go with the script. Like I really can't go too off book there.
Right.
But I do get to make some choices. Like I like this take, or I thought this was a good build, and And I worked with a great editor on that, Christina Cromer, over at Moonshine Post House in Atlanta. And she was really receptive of the work that I did. And it was just a blast. That was a fun job to work with. And that was all the offline editing on that was Premiere. That was all Premiere, and you'll see even some After Effects stuff in there as well.
I'd love to hear it.
So it was a Premiere heavy job, which was a lot.
And it's cool
that
that's all the way up to the top with a Netflix production, and the idea that you're working back and forth with Premiere, which is nice.
Yeah, that's the world that we're in now. You really can do that, and it's great.
The next thing I wanted to talk about is Flint, which I actually worked on with you a little bit, which is cool to have that opportunity. It's you want to speak to it actually, and I'll play the silent trailer as you kind of talk about.
So this came out a couple of years ago. Flint is still recovering in a lot of ways from what happened to it, but this is a documentary. It doesn't solve the problem. What it talks about is how we got to the problem that was created with the poisoning of all the citizens of Flint, Michigan, and how that could happen over time, and where that, where it comes from. And you can kind of see in this trailer that Flint was a GM
powerhouse.
City. It was
GM, like huge parades, like crowded, everyone like. You don't really think of Flint as a very heavily populated area because it's very deserted now, but like it was booming.
Yes, and they invested in the education and in community organizers and all this stuff, and they were like, "We're going to be here for you. Like we're a Flint company." And then the moment it became cheaper to go somewhere else, they did, and then there were huge ramifications for that. And then of course it goes through the lead poisoning and how that happened with the pipes, but also why it took so long to fix, and the different politics behind kind of like we knew that there was a problem, but then it still took so long to fix, and then we were claiming that there wasn't a problem, and it just more and more people got poisoned. And now really the biggest issue in Flint, in my opinion, is there's no trust between the people who live there and the people in charge. So they're like, it's good to drink. And they're like, cool, we're still on bottled water. We don't trust you. And you just can't get that back. I mean, once and that's happening all over the country. I mean, Flint is really just a small example of places all over the country that, because of whatever reasons, there's a lot of different reasons, these cities or communities, because a lot of them aren't cities. That's one of the ways that they're able to do what they do. They don't have voting power. They don't have representation. You think about like the founding of America, taxation without representation. There are tons of communities across this country
that pain still.
Absolutely. And when you don't have any power to vote in, legislation that you want, you can really get taken advantage of. And that's certainly what happened in Flint.
Wow. Now, what was your role on this this feature specifically?
I was the assistant editor for this with Sabotage Film Group and Scott Lansing, and David Barnhart was the director and producer of this with the Presbyterian Church. I've worked for Scott for years. Actually, that's how I got my start. Me and Scott did. I was sweeping floors at like a soundstage that he worked at, and I asked if he needed an assistant, and I kind of worked my way up from there. But this is a job that we did not too long ago. Obviously, you were involved, and I was everything in this job, from doing initial research to going out and shooting even a little bit to creating After Effects, really simple After Effects movements and stuff, and cutting together like kind of talking head stuff. But Scott and also the way that David works is very detailed, and they like to kind of bounce a lot of things back and forth for each other. So I was more of a support role in that. We would talk about, sometimes we'd break down things like this isn't working, and then I'd get in there and we'd figure something out. I even got to do some voiceover stuff for that, which is always fun. Like a lot of times in post, you'll find yourself doing a lot of voiceover work, and sometimes it makes it into the final cut and sometimes it doesn't. And it just,
Your voice, was it just like you making water noises with your mouth? Just like,
I wish. No, I did like a, the Japanese internment camps and kind of, 1950s announcer,
1950s voice.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, see, there they are. This is the modern because the reason why I had to do that is because we had a really great clip that already had that voiceover, but it had music underneath that we couldn't use. So we had to strip it, and then we just kind of reinserted my voice as the audio for it.
Wow. I mean, that's funny. I mean,
and then
makes you think of like how many things you've watched, and like in reality you're listening to the editor but you don't realize it.
It's true. I mean, it's really true. I mean, in Electric Jesus, my voice is sometimes the first time you hear like a character, it's not that actor, it's my voice, like just like doing like the throwing it or whatever.
Yeah.
But and then the last thing with Flint is the final process with Flint was very time consuming as an assistant, because we just had so much found footage and found articles and different things that all had to be like legally documented properly. So I had to work very closely with the lawyer, a little bit in over my head, just trying to like make sure that we had everything documented and what they needed to be like, this is all legit. We can stream this without anyone coming down on us.
Right.
Type stuff.
It's just like, that's such a modern problem,
Mm-hmm.
Just the idea of, well, not problem, but also a modern solution kind of, and being able to use technology to your advantage when the world is changing. Yeah,
it's really nice having a lawyer there to just be like, these are the rules. Like, you can get away with this, you can't get away with this.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So we're about 30 minutes in. We have been doing a section called Let's Look at Your Sketchbook. Obviously, your sketchbook's a little different, but I wanted to take a look at some of the stuff that you've created as sketches.
Ooh, what's in your sketchbook?
So yeah, as I was saying, there obviously is a big difference between visual, like physical artists and video editors. I know that in my time with living with you, I would see you just mess with videos as a way of therapy or a way of just being able to express yourself. So we have two different ones. Do you want to talk about the Charlie Chaplin one before we play it, or do you want to play it and then talk about
it? Briefly, just like this is like, yeah, the Charlie Chaplin one is like exactly what you just said. It was therapy for me when like I felt like I had no control over what was going on with the world, and I had some free time on my hands. So I just was like, I want to cut together like a video collage of something that speaks to me. So that's what that is.
All right, let's check it out.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed. The bitterness of men fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Yeah.
It always gets me so hyped. Like, I always get really excited whenever I watch that. But the big thing that I learned through you, honestly, is that this was one of the first talkies, right? It was a fully silent film.
It was the first time that Chaplin spoke as the tramp. So probably.
And it was at the end of a movie, right? The whole thing was silent up until.
No. The speech is at the end of the movie, but
Mm-hmm.
he speaks. I think I think there is other talking throughout. It's been a long time since I've seen The Great Dictator. There's also an amazing scene where he's dancing with the worlds, because the whole idea, it all stemmed from the concept of someone telling Chaplin, like, you look like him, you look like Hitler, and even the tramp looks like Hitler. Yeah. And so there is a Hitler character outside of the tramp that by that point in the movie, the speech comes in, the tramp has like replaced him. Yeah. And everyone thinks that he's the dictator. So he gets the moment as the tramp to speak for the dictator. And the tramp throughout his career, aside from being silent, would always like kick the backside of authority figures, or never in a place of power. Like that was the opposite. It was always about like the underclass kind of, doing what they can do within their role to kind of take a jab at the power. So suddenly this character has like all the power in the world, and they get a moment to speak, and they do. And that's the last time that character even speaks, because Chaplin knew that it would kill the character the moment they talked.
Well, that's really cool. And it's also just really nice to be able to like see your exploration of a lot of famous films. I know that while it was going on, there were some call outs. Steve was really excited about all the movie classics, and everyone seeing their favorites, and it just taking some things like even Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and taking that and being able to apply it to the same serious feeling as I saw something. I saw some Soylent Green in there, maybe.
There was. I think you're talking about the music video, the Pink Floyd music video from Another Brick in the Wall.
Or, is that what it is when they're jumping into the vat thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All of the pieces in this, they came from things that were like important to me growing up, like either be childish or serious or whatever. In fact, when I was making this, I think you remember, I'd be asking people like, can you tell me things? I might not pick them because if I don't have a connection to it, that's not what this is about.
Right.
But yeah. So all of those things I have like a deep connection to. So it is a personal project. And I hope that other people enjoy it, but it's just like,
but it's for you.
Yeah. It's just for me. That's all it is. And I love like The Walrus and the Carpenter is one of my favorite poems, and Alice in Wonderland. And I liked comparing Trump to the walrus, and like to that moment when he grabs all the clams and he does the wink. And I'm just like, is that just, I can't think of a better metaphor to that.
But it's just kind of cool of repurposing almost as a callback to Smash. The idea of being able to, this was very linear, obviously, because we have the linear structure of Charlie Chaplin speaking, but using things outside of their context to portray something that is not their original intent, I think is really cool. And it's cool to see that video collage in a way.
As an editor, that is, and it's sad because we don't exist in that world anymore. But my favorite type of editing and edited stories are ones that are done from found footage that were supposed to be something else. And then like they turned it in like they're like, we found this footage from the 1920s that's never been used. I'm going to cut it to make this other film completely.
Right.
I love that. I think it's such a symbolic thing for humans to take garbage and turn it into something beautiful, or something that maybe couldn't be used, and turn it into art again. Like, it's one of my favorite things of being an editor. And unfortunately, because of, ownership and things like that, now we just don't have the ability to do that as much anymore, or you're stepping on someone's toes. But for that project, like, someone had already taken the speech and put it with that music. That music is from a Christopher Nolan film. I think it's from Inception. And I just took that and then layered my stuff on top of it. So the idea that, like, for me, it was like, you have the art, and then you have somebody else adding the music, that was their art, and then you have me adding the thing on top that was like my contribution to this collaborative project that goes all the way back to Charlie Chaplin. But
like a crossing of so many different mediums and feelings, which is really cool. So that also brings us to the next part. Speaking of kind of older footage that then can become public domain, I think everything in this next one is completely public domain because of it coming out, like the 30s, right?
I don't think so.
No, you don't think so? Oh, okay. All right.
No. I think Criterion probably owns most of that stuff. like
All
in
right,
terms of,
so maybe we'll just play a clip of this part of it. Maybe we won't watch the whole thing of it, but this was kind of a.
I think we're under the law because it's no clips longer than like 7 seconds or something like that.
Right?
But...
Yeah, that's kind of like the one that I just played. I knew that we were going to be okay just because we have it cut down into pieces. But if I hear from Disney's lawyers, I'll point them in your direction.
Cool. Hey, they're allowed to pick what they can find.
Yeah, right. And all right, so let's check this one out, and then we can talk a little bit about it. And things start to get a little violent, so I'm going to cut it off right there.
Yeah.
But I do think that there was a lot of really cool things that we saw just showcased right there, with your editing, with the importance of samurai movies, and the importance of like experimenting even with when he gets like cut and they just use like a fire hose for like blood to gush.
Talk about like influencing on Quentin Tarantino, or so this whole project are Toshiro Mifune films, who's the actor who's highlighted in those. He's a famous actor for portraying samurai. He was kind of called the Lion because of how he approached like combat and for the ferocity that he kind of approached it with. And he is an incredible performer to watch, but he worked very closely with a lot of Kurosawa films. So there's also a lot of Kurosawa work that you're seeing in that. And Kurosawa's eye for what makes something cinematic is like, everyone should definitely dive into that, because you're going to learn exactly. It's like a cheat sheet to be like, oh, I want something to look cinematic. Okay, well, I'll just add in a bunch of people and add in a bunch of texture and then add in this movement, and then boom, there you go. You're off to the races. It looks cinematic. And that's definitely a Kurosawa philosophy.
Now, these films are mostly from what, like the 50s, right? 40s, 50s?
Yeah, I believe so.
And they rose to prominence, I'm guessing probably mostly in Japan, and then over time they kind of became
the Western Japanese artistic pipeline is like they were influenced by us, and then we're influenced by them, and then it just gets, the ball gets passed back and forth, and that's why you get such incredible work nowadays that's so referential, and you're like, I don't even know where this came from, but it's from this amalgamation. And a lot of times what it was, and you'll notice probably, Westerns and samurai films and Star Wars eventually, right? We're talking like, what the thing that I love about Westerns and I love about samurai films is that it's all about that slow brooding tension leading up to to the moment of extreme violence. And then when the moment
Yeah.
of extreme violence happened, it's quick, like you saw in those clips. It's like a 2-second pop, 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 slice, blood, like horrible. And that's it. Like, it's not long, like crazy choreographed fights. It's all about that tension and how do you build that tension, and then where does it go from there. But also,
like when they're walking together and he has the gun and he's like, don't come any closer, and they're just walking so slow towards each other until finally there's that moment of like, okay, this is it, this is the moment.
There's another similar standoff later in that video between him and a gunfighter, and the gunfighter's got like this 2-barreled gun, and he's just like, people keep coming and he keeps killing them, like innocent people, like people who are just like running at him because they're mad because he killed like the last person, and he unloads his weapon, and who's left but Toshiro? And it's like, you probably should have saved a bullet for that guy because he's the one that you got to worry about.
He's the biggest threat out of
and so so how using how does a samurai sword get past like a pistol is always like an interesting standoff thing that they played with. And
and Umacorn is in here, and she's also saying it's okay if I'm a little offended on how they portrayed the supporting actors. And I just want to say, absolutely. I mean, as with anything, the aging of cinema is very similar to the aging of art. Like, we learn more, and there are things that don't age as well. But I think that there still is a lot to be learned looking into the past and seeing film and taking away things like the tension. And some of the like amazing shots that they have, just like compositionally, and it's interesting to see how cinema and film adapts and grows about the more that we learn and
I mean,
talk about people and showcase.
With Kurosawa films, I think you have some really great supporting roles though throughout those films. Some characters that do have agency that normally wouldn't in maybe a modern day context. So definitely go back and check some of those out.
Do you have a favorite?
I love I think it's called Throne of Blood, which is like the Macbeth adaptation.
Oh, really? That's cool. But it's in samurai.
It's Macbeth, but it's Mifune, and the ending, like the symbol, like the whole thing in Macbeth is like when the forest moves, it means that you're gonna die, like your end is coming, and how they do that, the symbolism they chose to kind of do that, and then the last final scene of that, what happens, it's just awesome. It's just incredible, and like I don't want to give it away, but definitely take a look at Throne of Blood. All the stuff I think is on all these like Kurosawa films and these Mifune films. You can probably find them. I think HBO Max bought them. So.
Oh, did they? Oh, that's really cool. So then you can watch them through. Get
And on my
get a bunch of snacks and have a little samurai night.
I have my OLED TV for my black and white films, and they just look beautiful.
Man, I want to get my blacks a lot richer, because right now I have like a. It's not even 4K, and the blacks are like very clearly struggling to keep up with some of the newer stuff that I'm watching, especially on like Apple TV, where they're going into the vastness and void of space, and it's supposed to be these rich blacks and it's like gray, and I'm like, okay,
that's
just a better shot.
And I love black and white cinema. Like I love a lot of those films, and I go back to them a lot. So I just want my TV to be able to show me the prettiest version of that.
Yeah. Oh, it's Sean Cazell is saying, I'm getting Back to the Future vibes here with Zach King out, which I don't think you realize. Back to the Future is one of Zach's absolute favorite movies.
Absolutely, yes.
So that probably means a lot to him.
I made you watch that trilogy.
That's his real house. So
yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. This is all real.
His grand piano as an editor. This is the editor life.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of black and white films, though, I think that's a great transition into art talk, and we can talk a little bit about Maya. So I'll be honest, before talking to you about who you wanted to talk about, I had not heard of Maya. So I actually learned about Maya last night.
Well, I need a refresher.
I what I ended up doing is I watched some YouTube videos, which I also want to make sure that I put some links. I'll put the links in the chat for you guys, just because I want to do right by the people that I learned from. But I also went ahead and I watched her most famous film, which apparently is kind of like a film school classic. So if you actually know film, this might be a little duplicative of your knowledge, but I learned a lot from it. I watched it. It's like a 15-minute thing. We're gonna have it up in the back because it is all of her stuff is available online for free to watch, like YouTube, Vimeo, you name it. So we'll pull that in a little bit. But before we hop into that, Maya Deren, she was from April 29th, 1917 to October 13th, 1961. Way too young to die, but she had a huge impact on the film industry. She was a filmmaker in the 1940s and 50s, and she created amateur avant-garde films outside of Hollywood's high productions. So she really prided herself in the idea of being able to make everything by hand. She believed that making experience only possible within the cinematic universe, so it wouldn't be able to exist on stage or in a book. And she really liked to create films shot by hand because she felt like too often people were constrained by the idea of putting the tripod in control of creating the composition, whereas she wished that you should really have the composition be in the hands of what you have as a person, and the tripod has to form to meet that rather than it dictating what it already is. She was in black and white films, was the whole thing that she created. She, like I said, was independent, so she funded her own thing. So she made it extremely cheap to produce all these films. I mean, extremely. She bought a camera back in the 40s.
Yeah, it was still film, still cost film.
Yeah, that's the other thing I always have to remind myself of like anything before the 2000s. It's like you would shoot something and you were working with limited space. Like that's a luxury that we take for granted now. The fact that you can just buy a huge hard drive and put all the stuff on when it's not shot on film. And so I went ahead and I just, this is one I make my pictures for what Hollywood spends on lipstick. I just pulled a few of some of the films that I kept seeing pop up in all of these conversations.
Those are my two favorite at the top.
Oh, yeah. So Meshes of the Afternoon and Atlanta are your favorite. Oh, those are the ones that I learned the most about.
Oh, good.
So we're good. But Meshes of the Afternoon was her first one she made with her husband. And it is, like I said, is like a complete classic for film school students and just film lovers in whole. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna actually pull it up so that it can play as we talk a little bit more about her. But yeah, I wanted to just ask you, like, why did you bring her up, and what does she mean to you?
I went to film school, so we and I took an avant-garde film class, and she came up. And she just, more than any other director that I studied in film school, she's the one that stuck with me the most. I even like tried to a horrible student film I made where I tried to recreate a lot of what she did with that land, but like myself, which is these, like in terms of editing, she plays a lot with space, like leaving one frame, or like crawling up a ladder in one frame and then being like at a boardroom all of a sudden, like at the bottom of a table of a boardroom, right? And she like comes up and so just like that idea that space doesn't matter between frames, which I think for her, she was experimenting, especially with Meshes of the Afternoon, which we're watching right now, with like dream and what a dream is. Like you almost expect that,
but orienting thing.
Mm-hmm. Like this movie Meshes, it kind of functions as narratively instead of linearly. It functions as a spiral. So you see this similar thing that you're watching now, but from a different perspective. You're going to see it from a different perspective, like a third
over and over and over again,
and then like a different perspective, and you're kind of getting more and more and more of the story. But yeah, I just think that what she did was just so ahead of her time and so incredible. And I get so engaged when I watch her pieces, and everything just feels like important. And it's fine to watch without sound.
Actually, real quick, is the idea of her dropping the key is actually something that I read that she was really she liked to deal with things that were out of control of the filmmaker. So she really likes to like film on the beach, which she does later here. And she likes to film like things dropping or moving that you can't fully control, because then it increases the amount of believability, because it's like you can only control so much and the rest is here. So the environment dictates the creation of the feeling of reality, because it's like, oh, they couldn't have planned that, like they have to exist in that environment, which I thought was a cool way to approach it. She said, and this is a nice long quote, but I think that it really speaks true, and you guys can see how it affects this film even in particular. She says, what has been most responsible for the lack of development of the cinematic idiom is the emphatic literacy of our age. So accustomed are we to thinking in terms of continuity logic of the literary nature that the narrative pattern has come to completely dominate cinematic expression in spite of the fact that it is basically a visual form. We overlook the fact that painting, for instance, is organized in visual logics, or that music is organized in tonal rhythmic logics, that there are visual and auditory experiences which have nothing to do with the descriptive narrative. Which is basically her way of being like, we don't have to make it all storybooks. We don't have to make it all just like so heavy on the script. We can use visual and audio and, you know, the relation of two objects, like changing a key to a knife or a knife to a key, to be able to switch and communicate, you know, what's going on. Kind of like here with the close up of her eye, and we can kind of tell that she's falling asleep.
Right, now we're into so this is the good part to bring up, that I'm pretty sure that Meshes of the Afternoon, or really Inception, is Meshes of the Afternoon, but from the husband's perspective as opposed to the wife's perspective, because this film just plays so much in like, what is reality, what is dream? Was she in reality at the beginning of the film ever? Was it a dream the whole time? Like, I think she certainly creating the illusion that we just stepped into a dream world and perhaps what we saw before was real, but that's going to get messed with down the line. So like, and also like, if you notice some of these as an editor, these cuts and the way that they're using these cuts, like see that, like that was a cut. She did things that absolutely 100%, even though she was rejecting mainstream, she was rejecting narrative film, they took so much from her. I mean good, you know, we took narrative film was like, yes, we need this version of visual storytelling in order to enhance narrative. So it found a place in all types of, you know, filmmaking.
Yeah. And I think it's just interesting that like with those cuts, there is still narrative, and she really likes to kind of challenge the viewer to take something that just, she says it doesn't really make sense, but you immediately are using the character and the main person to place yourself into it for an understanding. And this is me paraphrasing her, I don't actually have the quote here, but she is saying that like these scenes and these cuts really don't make sense, and they're not supposed to make sense, but you're supposed to be able to identify with them enough to make sense of the chaos that then you can kind of put yourself in there. And so then it lets you kind of create a through line that you can then understand some sort of narrative that you make up as the viewer, which is cool.
Yeah, she believed in mandalas. Not Mandela, mandalas. She believed that, you know, if you look into a fire for a long enough time, a story will appear to you. The human mind is going to create those patterns. She didn't do the work for the viewer. She let the viewer kind of watch her pieces and then form the whole thing themselves. Let those natural kind of connections in your brain happen. So this scene, real quick, I think is very reminiscent. And this is just like with a handheld camera and maybe like a fan, right? But it's very reminiscent of the Inception hallway scene where there is no, you know, and just like if you watch the behind
50
the
years
scenes,
later,
yes,
50 years later, which is crazy. Like,
and if you watch how much work went into the behind the scenes of the Inception hallway compared to like they just like moved this camera around with her, like it's just so funny and again so ahead of its time. And like so she's seeing herself, she has to hit the music, and then it's gonna cause definitely causality, right? Like she hits that.
And it's amazing because then this also she would be literally cutting into the film and putting them together, stitching them together to make it so she can exist in more than one place, right?
Mm-hmm. And then we have that black figure with the flower again.
Yeah. Also,
she's
you're
watching her
call outs for some student films. Wade's student films always a classic. And Steve said, movies have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Student and indie movies are missing one of these three things. Which is a joke, but funny nonetheless.
Yeah.
We should have pulled up some of your student films and ripped them apart.
Yeah. I would say that this movie has definitely in a beginning, middle, and end.
This one. I mean, this is a work of art. This is beautiful.
You're gonna see the ending is riveting, actually.
Which I don't know if I kind of want to show a little bit of Atlan because I wanted to talk about when you were talking about the her crawling up and then going into the boardroom and switching.
Yeah, that's a really cool shot. But before you do, I don't know, maybe just cut to the end of this film to the husband walking in, because I just think that's such a. And this is her husband in real life. She did not separate her art from her work, So the husband became the figure, pretty much, and kind of like took the place of that black figure during the final repetition of this.
Which is kind of like a Grim Reaper, kind of.
It is. Well, yeah, it kind of becomes that because, if you want to even go further. So he's cleaning up. He's reality, or he at least buys into this as a reality. And
that she was previously sitting with herself at the table, so she's like checking on it, and she's trying to orient herself, and she's kind of like, "Oh wait, my husband's here now," and is this real? Is he real? Is this a part of it? And then, if you kind of go even further, here where then things get a little weird again,
because he's
like touching her and. Like you think that it's going to turn a little bit romantic. It's interesting.
And then she has the knife. The knife is the reflection of the knife, and that is a very important symbolism to her because she was big into. So you think she killed the husband, or she's breaking reality is the idea. She says, "This is not real. This is not reality. What's real is the beach." Another Inception kind of motif, and. Then at the very end, we find the last perspective, I believe, in my opinion, that we're getting is actually back to the husband's perspective. So now we're back in the real world, or what we consider like the base reality. Yeah. And he's coming in and he's noticing these things that are different that have happened that she affected, Yeah. And the key is already in the door, so he didn't have to find it. Comes into place and discovers.
Wait for it. Some broken glass
and
seaweed.
That she killed herself, apparently.
She killed herself? Oh, I thought because she has like seaweed all over her. So I assume.
Oh yeah, the seaweed too. Well, that's a reference to that, but she's dead. I think for me, it's the idea. It goes back, and maybe it's just me putting too much Inception on it. But for me, it's like, she escaped to what she said. This is not reality. I'm going to go to reality, and she leaves him behind. Just like in Inception when. That happens. She's like, she's like, we have to die here, and he's like, no, this is real. Our kids are here, and then she kills herself. So
Reaver Mike just said, dude, spoilers. Inception's been out for like 20 years now. Not actually 20, but if you haven't seen Inception at this point, with
right, and Meshes has been out for 70 years. So
I don't know.
Yeah, so this is a beautiful film, and the transition and the cuts here are just so cool. But yeah, this is it. I think this is it when she's climbing.
Yeah, this is where she climbs up and goes through the boardroom. I watched this also last night. And this is really cool. And it's just the idea of using match cuts. Like, we just switched, and she was climbing something, and now we're seeing the climbing of her hands again. And now suddenly our brain can make a connection, even though it doesn't make any sense. Which it does to a point as well, but
and just like she's her lens is so unique because it's a female gaze in a time when you just did not see that, and you still don't see it very much. So it's just she's just incredible. I love her stuff.
And now she's crawling onto the table, but all of a sudden now she's in the brush, and now she's back on the table again. But like we can still make the connection that this form, because I don't even know if I want to say human, because I don't even know if like necessarily it's like from the perspective of human forms in our reality. It's kind of like she's almost a vessel of like perception and understanding of like this abstract world, but we can still use her as a through line, even when the cuts don't make sense, but that you can still make sense of them. And it's just, I was really excited about it. Like, I'm really glad that like we've been doing this art segment this week. I've been learning about all these different artists as I'm just throwing things together. But this one in particular, I was really excited about, just because I just can't believe that she did this, like, 70 years ago.
Yeah, I know. I mean, people were talking, I've heard interviews of people in the 70s being like, yeah, I mean, Maya Deren's doing what we're doing now. And, just, yeah. And she comes back to a lot of the same symbols, the chessboard, reflective materials, like things like that, the nature versus like man structures, like these things are prominent in her work,
That's great though.
Maya Deren, definitely check her out if you haven't checked her out. You
haven't seen her before, check her stuff out. Very cool. And thank you for bringing her up.
Yeah.
So with that though, I think that would be a great time to kind of get into your whole shtick.
Okay.
Would love to check out some stuff that you have going on. I know you said you wanted to work with chat today to create something, right? So what do you want to work on? Yeah,
I thought it would be so. One of the things that I've been doing recently is I'm a big nerd and I do role-playing games, which is like Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. I play Monster of the Week.
You also play Dungeons and Dragons.
I do play, but I really DM or GM Monster of the Week.
GM? What's GM?
A game master. Dungeon master is like really for
D&D.
Yeah, for D&D.
Which, by the way, I saw that the new D&D that's coming out was completely authored by Black and Brown authors, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the entire edition. So, progressive D&D.
Progressive. So part of me, whenever I GM a campaign, is, should I screen share this probably?
Yeah.
I like to go in and create opening titles for the TV show that we're watching, because it's all based off of Monster of the Week television. So like this
Scooby-Doo, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not paranormal. What's it called? Supernatural.
Yeah.
All
X-Files.
Monster of the Day.
X-Files. I think Smallville I also consider a Monster of the Week.
Somebody say.
When we were living together, like for people who don't know, when we were living together, we would just be in anytime like we get to a moment where there'd be like a pause, I would just break out in that song to
in your head,
as if we were transitioning into the opening credits of our lives. Also, should we play Chuck Prom Dance later? I feel like we need
No, we should not. I'm in full control here, and I will shut the stream down.
I'm planning all this, and then we're just gonna click right into Chuck Prom Dances. So I'm sharing this screen right now?
I can see your screen.
Okay,
I'm just gonna pull it up once you
So this first one that we're gonna watch is the first one I made, so we can see the development. And I was trying to recreate like an 80s style opener here, and this is actually a campaign that Ryan was a character.
Yeah, my name pops up here.
Yeah,
this had something to do with pirates.
Yeah. So this was a pirate. It's all about the Bermuda Triangle and monsters coming out.
Let's see. I'm not sure if I'm getting your audio. Did you click the thing that says you can share your audio when you do your screen share?
Oh, I'm sorry. You can't hear the audio?
No, yeah. So I think you have to unshare and then you have to reshare with clicking the box that says you'll share the audio.
Every time.
Fringe. Oh, I forgot about the TV show Fringe. I tried to watch a few of it. I watched like the first 3 episodes, I think. Yeah, there we go. Now I have the little.
So also, like, I think my idea with this, and this is my first one, they're going to get progressively better, but I think the idea was to start like as if you're turning on the TV and it was already playing.
Way the anchor spin the wheel this day on nature wind. Feel spray of sea, the ocean's kiss, you're on your way again. Sleep, bonny pirate laddie, while the waves they roll. Sleep, bonny pirate laddie, ocean breezes blow. Feel the ship rock to and fro here with the breaking sigh. The gentle ocean sounds below a pirate love.
Tim Curry as Cook. This is so funny.
The Voyage of Belladune. So
Like,
yeah, that
walking
one
at the end too.
Yeah, I put Tim Curry in there. This is a student film right here. It's a horrible one. Also another one here. The idea of putting Tim Curry in there is so I could like do a Tim Curry impression every time you went down to the galley, but I couldn't do it, so it just was.
It was always like, let's go down to the galley. Let's go see.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, do you really want
he's
to?
busy.
He's a busy dude. So then, so I got hooked on this. So the next Monster of the Week game that we started doing is called Nexus, and it's a futuristic campaign with like the Nexus is like a program like the Matrix. It's kind of like the Expanse meets the Matrix, I think is what we came up with. And we the way I do Monster of the Week is we really world build as the group, and then I kind of go back in and try to justify all the crazy choices my players make. So this is the first trailer that we made for them, and it kind of evolved. Let's do. So that's how that started. And the reason why you saw Candyland there is because the program that arc was in was Candyland. They eventually go to like a place called New Cancun, and they go to like a San Junipero type place that has like it looks like a retirement home kind of thing.
Yeah.
We don't need to rewatch those. And then this one is the one that I just made recently for a campaign that I'm playing in that my friend is GMing. And we kind of built this together, like almost as if he was the director and I was the editor, and I was kind of just putting his vision of how he saw this opening trailer to work. So it was more of a collab. But
Spooky. Wait, can you pause it?
Yeah.
Do you want to go through kind of
Sure.
like what you did right there?
Yeah. So this is this is our two characters, Deacon and Stock, and I pulled. They look like characters from other things. So Deacon looks like Constantine from DC Legends of Tomorrow, and Stock looks like Danny Glover from the Lethal Weapon movies.
And you change it from FBI to TBI.
And then I changed it to FBI to TBI. So I did some photoshopping here and then kind of went into After Effects. You can see my bad work here if we pause too long on it. Yeah, this was just kind of a fun. I made all these photoshops to throw into the opener. It's interesting because I'm playing Stock, who's black, which probably normally wouldn't be okay. The guy who's running the campaign is black, so he wanted me to do it. It's interesting. He puts me in really interesting social situations that I normally wouldn't have to deal with, and it's been a really fun kind of campaign because it also involves time travel, so that can get finicky.
Kind of like Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
Love Umbrella Academy. New trailer came out.
Oh, really? I'm excited for that.
Oh, right there. You also photoshopped that.
Yeah, so that's another Photoshop.
but it's also After Effects in there too, because you have it slowly moving as well, which is cool.
Yes, so they're all that was a template like the photo aspect of it, but all the Photoshop that you're seeing, they're all from Lethal Weapon, and I would erase Mel Gibson and then throw in the other guy, kind of. It's the idea.
Nice little text reveal there with the clock.
Yes. The last Photoshop is it's like a scene from Lethal Weapon where they're in the rain laughing in their underwear, and I had to find another shot of this actor like standing in the rain just to make it work. And that's the name of the episode.
That's great.
Yeah,
they turned out so fun.
It is.
It's really cool
it
that you do
stupid
those
fun.
just for your crawls.
Yeah, that's what they're just for fun. And you know, if I was doing them on a professional level, I'd probably put in a lot more detailed stuff on there. But it's really just like, what if we did this? And kind of,
It helps
which
set
is
the mood and it's exciting.
yeah.
But that brings us to let's get into making one of our own real quick. We don't have too much time, but it would be fun to create something based off of chat. So we have some Adobe Stock that we want to dive into. But what's the first theme or question that you would need to start developing something?
Right. Okay. So the idea here is that we're going to put together a TV show opener together, like on the stream. So with that said, what kind of show are we making an opening for? We'll just throw out some topics. So it could either be like a family sitcom, in which case we probably use like we would look at Growing Pains or Full House and try to use that as a template. Or we want to do like again, these are like murder mystery sci-fi shows. We could do another Monster of the Week, you know, in a different world that we could create. Or let's see, what other types of television are there? So we really just need TV show genres. Wow, I sounded like what's her from Moira from
Moira
Schitt's Creek.
A cranberry apple.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
Steve says film noir, so that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any noir TV shows that
a kids show.
Kids show could be cute.
Like an Office style comedy, like a
that's
a
also
mockumentary type. What other shows?
Anybody have any other suggestions in the chat? Any favorite shows that anyone would want to see? We could throw your name in there too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, have a little takeaway.
That's right. And anybody who gives us a good one, will put you as like a cast member.
Yeah. Could do something like Modern Family, which would be a little bit closer to the idea of like a family sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
True Life Mysteries like Oak Island or Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, what's that? Yeah, I'd be interested in doing something like that. Just then we could
Vera
watch it and see
is
what
a
it
drama series. That's like for the noir thing. History Channel aliens are real themes.
That's good.
That one's funny. What happened to History Channel? Also, I say this on every stream. All of the views and things that are expressed are not about Adobe. They are from me and Zach personally, and Adobe does not endorse or condemn anything that we endorse or condemn.
Yeah. I certainly don't speak for anything that Adobe feels or thinks. I am a human.
Reverb Mike also says Psych, which also makes me think of like Suits as well.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. If we did like what is the that HBO Ballers or like a
the one that's like kind of
entourage show.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun. Grimm, that's good. Sure. That's classic Monster of the Week. What are we thinking? What does anything appeal to you, Ryan? What
appeals to me? I really like the History Channel Aliens Are Real theme. I think that's kind of funny.
Let's see what we got on YouTube.
Yeah, if we just pull up Aliens Are Real History Channel. And so yeah, we're gonna be working with Adobe Stock. We'll just pull up some generic kind of videos that kind of fit to our theme, and we're gonna real quick look at some inspiration on YouTube to see if we can find something. Oh, Megan also says Mad Men, which would be
great. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. Or just a period, like a period piece of some kind would be good for sure.
Yeah.
Aliens Are Real. I'm
whichever has you find the most amount of content in the least amount of time, because we've only got like 30 minutes left.
Yeah, so. I'm surprised. Yeah, we might not get through it. I think a historical drama might be the best. Right. So which one do we want to base it off of? What was the one that was suggested?
Mad Men.
We could do a Mad Men.
We could do
though Mad Men's all like graphics.
Yeah.
How does Downtown? What's the opening for Downton Abbey?
Oh, that's a real period piece. My parents love Downton Abbey. It's funny. They came to visit me in New York like a few years ago just to see the Downton Abbey exhibit. And I was like, yeah, I also live here too, guys.
Oh, this might be perfect. We might want to do this. Should I screen share this?
Yeah, go ahead, screen share real quick. Pride and the Prejudice. That's a good one.
Okay, so. Oh well, it is what it is.
Fine. That's okay. It's not the main thing. So.
Oh
yeah, this is great. Oh, this is perfect.
Yeah, this is.
Perfect with the names coming in.
Absolutely.
And a graphical element.
Cool.
That's great.
All right. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's get this show on the road. Okay. Right. So we're gonna go over to stock.
Well, you start looking for some stock. I am going to take a quick break to do some monkey paws. Just it's a natural break for everyone that's watching. So you can hop in and start kind of grabbing some footage, and I will do some monkey paws. So I'll bring you back in just a minute. All right, guys, here we go. Monkey paw time. All right, guys. So if you are new to the idea of monkey paws is a really good way to make sure that you are doing your stretches and you are you're making sure that the carpal tunnel is not inhibiting your way to work, whether that's video editing, illustrating, editing videos and photos, you name it. It's even if you're just working in Excel sheets all day, carpal tunnel is a real and debilitating thing that you just need to make sure that you're doing your stretches. Otherwise you will, do some irreversible damage and it'll make working a lot harder. And what are we without our hands as artists and people who are working virtually all the time? So monkey paws is just a short little exercise that you can do every so often throughout the day to kind of stretch things out and make it so that your body doesn't ache. So we're going to start off with reaching forward, and you're going to keep your hands open like this and fingers to the sky. You're going to bring them in and you're going to say ooh, ooh, ah, ah, because you make little monkey paws out of them. And so that'll stretch it a little bit. You can release and go down. And then with your palms facing down, you then bring in again. This is ooh, ooh, ah, ah. You can start to feel a little bit. It's starting to get better because I'm doing this at every single segment, which is nice. You're going to release. And you want to do this gentle. If it hurts or anything, you want to make sure you stop just because obviously you don't want to overextend yourself. So after we do this section, we're going to flip over, palms facing the sky or like outwards and down. And you're going to bring in your hands once again. Ooh, ooh, ah, ah, like this. And then for the very last one, you're going to move from palms out to towards yourself and and this is the one that always I can feel the most. So right after you do that, you're going to want to shake your hands up gently a little bit. You can do this as many times, just a few times over and over again. But we're just going to do it twice real quick just because, of time and what have you. But then you can always do some more on your own. So we'll just start again from the beginning. You do your palms out. Release. Down. See, I can really feel this one in my thumb when I bring it and it brings down. It goes down the side of my arms. So I'm gonna flip over. And then one more time up. Hopefully you don't have to make the faces like me. Also, yeah, that's focusing on my beautiful snake plant, which is doing pretty good. It doesn't normally live here, but it's doing great. This idea was brought up and taught to me by Anna Davis Court, which she also did these beautiful monkeys down here that illustrate it perfectly. Anna Davis Court was our guest yesterday in the second time slot. Speaking of which, I can also go ahead and I can pull up the schedule for today and tomorrow. Right now, obviously, we are with Zachary Bromberg, and we have him for 30 more minutes, which is exciting. Later today, we have Christy Campbell, who is from Pink Pony Creative, which is a really great graphic designer on Instagram. And then tomorrow is a packed day. I'm here at the same time with Snoop Nebula and Annika Agarwal. But in the morning, there's the Adobe Font Show. And at the end of the day, there is a how-to with Claudie, which is going to be really exciting. Also on the Adobe Live channel, tomorrow or Thursday, we have Let's Go Fresco with Kyle T. Webster, Thursday mornings at 7:30, only on Adobe Live. And then on Mondays, we have Cody Bear. We had her show promoted a little bit yesterday, and that happened last night after the stream. But it's a recurring segment. So she has her power prompts also happening on Monday next week. Join Cody Bear as she hosts Power Prompts, Medieval March, Week 4, Apothecary Herbs, every Monday at 2:30 Pacific, only on Adobe Live. Rob, did you just say that by doing monkey paws, you just popped your watch right off your wrist? You might be doing it a little too intense if you're doing that. So dial it back just a little bit. And then finally, I have not yet made the promo for it, and I really need to. But for tomorrow for the Adobe Font Show with Ari and Ben, they're going to be going over some really great type. Ben is such a character. I haven't spoke to Ari too much. But Ben is so knowledgeable and so smart with his type. And make sure you guys check that out. It's early in the morning. And unless you're on the East Coast like me, then it's a little bit later in the morning. And it's just a really good time. So that's the schedule that we have going on. With that, though, I can go ahead and I can bring Zach back in. Hi, welcome back.
Hey.
Are you having a good time perusing the stock?
I am. We're gonna
got some horses. You got
horses. That's good.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna ask. I need some suggestions. Fancy horses.
Rob says he's got big wrists. I saw you weren't doing your stretches, so I hope you don't get carpal tunnel because I put you to work while we were working on that. So I'm sorry. You too. You really gotta make sure you stretch that because I once worked with a motion designer. He was very, very talented, but he was our age, and he showed up to work with things on his wrist, and he had a heating pad for his back because he was always hunched over and working on stuff. And I was like, dude, you should not be in this much pain from editing videos all the time. But
it happens.
You gotta watch it. Another one we also talked about is you can also do this thing where you bring in your hand like this, and then you bring it far out and reach out. And that'll also, you'll feel that go all the way up your arm. So you've already downloaded a few, though. You're looking for more suggestions. Does anybody else have suggestions for Downton?
I have
Abbey
downloaded a few.
stuff, right?
First things first, I think we need to pick a good theme song that we like. So maybe I can share that. Are you still hearing?
I can hear the audio. Yep.
Okay, cool. So let's try to find something.
So we need something regal. It has like a cello in it, right? Or no? What is that? It's a string of some sort, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't need you. All right. Let's see. Genres. We need classical.
So definitely strings.
Oh yeah. Let's just type in fancy classical and see what we've got.
All right, cool. What's this one?
Too intense.
Nope. Too fun. Oh, this one's pretty good.
Yeah. We're not going to second guess ourselves here. You know what I mean?
We're just going to go with our intuition.
So, as an editor, you want to be super organized.
Yes, label your stuff.
Cool.
Now, when you're looking for music and you're looking for something to fit and edit, is there kind of an approach that you normally take? Do you kind of find a song that you like and then you pull the instruments? Do you like to go to songs and then click like more like this song?
Yeah. I guess if I'm navigating it, if we liked that song and we had more time, I'd probably just click on more like the song and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can. It really just depends. I mean,
but different instruments have different vibes to them that you can always kind of like rely on. Like if you have an accordion in there, like it's not going to be the most seriously taken thing. It's going to have a little bit more fun to it. But if it has strings, like then it has a little bit more class. Or trombone might be a little bit sillier. I just have all the cartoon references in my head, so I'm like, for your big walrus character.
Let's see. What do we think? Like,
Clever is asking for the fanciest tea sandwiches. Pinkies up.
Ooh, okay. Fancy sandwiches. Let's see what we got.
That's a good one.
Fancy sandwiches.
Bruce, thank you for the kind words. Appreciate you. I do see it.
Ooh, okay. We're getting some things here for sure.
This is gonna make me hungry. I haven't ate yet. I need to eat after this.
I haven't eaten either. So I'm really just downloading also just to kind of give you a walkthrough of like what I'm doing. I'm not buying anything until we're happy with it in the edit. I'm just downloading the previews, and if we like what we have, maybe
you can officially license it.
Fancy sandwiches historic,
or like did you put tea sandwiches? Because tea sandwiches might actually get you there.
Ooh.
Those little triangle sandwiches.
Yes.
I don't know if they'll have it. You spelled sandwiches wrong.
I definitely did, yeah.
But I know you know better. You're good. Don't worry.
It looks like they figured it out, though.
They figured it out.
Look at this.
Or we're just sipping some tea. Oh, that's kind of similar, or like a tea set of sorts.
We're in the right track. Yeah, we should definitely do some tea work, I think.
Tea work. Tea works makes the dream work.
Maybe tea time.
Tea time for Zachary.
Times. Come on. Shoot
high tea.
Together.
You're a high tea, Robert.
Tea time history.
But yeah, this is all part of the daily workflow of an editor, or also somebody who edits pictures as well, just like sifting through some stock. Luckily Adobe Stock is quite comprehensive.
They've got so many goodies. Yeah,
it's good. And it can look as studio or non-studio as you're looking for, which is always kind of nice.
Yes.
Like this one, you look at a little shaky cam, which is good. Everything's not on a tripod, which you sometimes run into with stock.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how Adobe works, but it's super important that like we're doing a fun job. We don't have to worry about the rights for any of these things really, because we're not making any money off of it. But you just got to pay attention to. Here we go. Now we're talking. There's a lot of.
Oh, look at those. Why is that person playing the piano with gloves?
Because piano keys are dirty.
I've never seen that before.
More germs are on piano keys than any other.
That's probably not wrong. Your keyboard for your computer is one of the dirtiest things in your house. Not you, Zach. Just people in general.
You've seen my keyboard.
I've seen your keyboard. I mean, yeah, you've seen my keyboard. My keyboard's filthy.
Let's type in some fancy castles.
Afternoon tea or high tea will find you the pictures of fancy sandwiches and scones and such like, says Oliver. Also, welcome back, Oliver. I know you were here yesterday, so thank you for taking the time to tune in again. I know there's a lot of
He said type in what exactly? High tea?
High tea and afternoon tea.
Okay. That's some legit terms. I'm just going to get some castle stuff real quick. Ooh, look at you. I don't know if you noticed, I love doing some like just overlay stuff like on my things, just texture, adding texture where it doesn't exist, doesn't belong. I definitely like doing that. I think we almost got plenty of it. Let's just look at some. I want to get this woman in this chair actually, and then. Oh, but we should maybe look up for some string instruments. All right, first high tea.
All right, we got about like 15 minutes left.
Oh no, we're never gonna do it in time.
Let's power through this.
Okay.
Let's hop on into that premiere.
All right.
Oh yeah, that's plenty of footage. Oh my god, we have so much. We're gonna use like 5 of these.
Okay. So let me switch screens.
Yep, sure. In the Commonwealth, even now, tea is a coffee break, but with tea. Also, it means dinner. Strange. So you just have dinner several times throughout the day.
Guys, the time really caught up with us here. Look, we had all this cool other stuff to show you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was chatty Cathy.
No, it was good.
We talked about Maya because Maya was cool to kind of break down, which is cool.
So I saw my monster of the week. Look at this little Downton Abbey. Here's our footage. Yeah, it's not really organized. I know. All right.
But it's great. But you guys can also see you can just literally click and drag right into Premiere, which is nice, and it can put it together. You can also drag full folders, and it'll bring the folder into it as well. So if you have something already organized, you can just bring the folders in, and the folders will be then also realized in your media library as well.
There's lots of great ways of organizing. If I was doing this, I always create proxies. I really don't care what the job is. I don't like waiting for things to like go through stuff. So I would probably normally create proxy to this. We don't really have enough time, so we're just not going to do that. I'm going to go to our reference. Wait.
Bruce, I'm always a chatty Cathy. This should be on my LinkedIn.
All right, so we also need our music. Let's get our music.
I need our theme song, baby.
Okay. And I'm just going to put this in the timeline directly, and it'll pop in there. All right. I
feel like I'm about to watch some serious drama unfold.
William looked at Mary, and he should not have.
William and Mary? Can you imagine?
So when I do my audio, as I really try to figure out how we're going to end it, you know?
Yes. You can work in an intro. You can't really work in an outro. Outro is a little bit more obvious to...
I feel like I can cheat this a little bit. So I'm going to... Because I like the beginning better than the end.
So what are some of the keys that you just used just there? So how did you break that up?
Okay, so shortcuts are really important for an editor. So what I'm doing is, and I'm using my waveforms to kind of tell me like when things pick up and stuff. And I'm probably doing this a lot more minute. A couple things here. Also, I can hear this while scrubbing. That's not a feature that is automatic. In order for that to happen, you need to go to your preferences, audio, and then you need to click play audio while scrubbing. And that
brilliant.
I really like that one.
What? I didn't know that was there.
Perfect.
Too much.
Pro tip indeed. So what, are you pressing C to do that cut, or are you pressing something else to cut it when you need to? Did you remap it?
C brings up this little tool here, right? Or if I've got my segment on there, Control K. Now these are my shortcuts, right?
Yeah.
So it's super important when you're getting into editing to do this, to not rely on like clicking and dragging, or else you're going to slow yourself down. So get yourself familiar with your keyboard, change things up to how they work for you. Any editing program is going to allow you to do something like this, to kind of navigate through and make sure that your hotkeys are how you want them. And then of course you can change them. Like if you're doing different things, like it doesn't make sense necessarily to have the same hotkeys. So just get into the practice of manipulating that. So I'm listening to that bum, bada bum. It's similar to that, right? So I'm just going to replace it, and then hopefully.
Brilliant.
There we go. So now we have our thing. Go back.
Now, would you add like a constant power on the audio between that to merge the two, or would you just do a hard cut between the two audios?
It depends. Probably. So I have my.
What did you just click? How did you just do what you just did?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep doing this.
You're good.
So I right click. It's not right click for me, but it'd be right click for anybody else, and apply default transition, because I have my default transition set to the smallest amount. Okay. Because I like to be able to just merge my clips together without it being like a crazy cross dissolve effect. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's my kind of, I'm hitting the plus on the keyboard right now to zoom in. You see, I'm not going down here to zoom in and zoom out. Yeah. I'm hitting the keyboard, which saves some time. Also, I got my clip highlighted and I don't want it on the sequence. I'm going to click Alt up and down. That's some like really quick navigating, you know?
Love that.
So that just kind of blends it out. But I did a good enough job on rhythm that it's not that big of a deal.
You don't even really need it anyway.
All right, so we have our light little opener. It was a dog walking in this. I kind of like this shot as maybe, the only thing is we get these like modern people here. So maybe we'll have to figure out something else. Let me look up one more fancy castle. Come on.
One more fancy castle.
I did not realize that there were people there.
Also, hi, Elizabeth Mock. Welcome to this stream. It's good to see you. Elizabeth Mock is a subscriber of mine over on my channel, which, by the way, guys, I stream on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays normally at 4 o'clock Eastern. So if you are enjoying the show, this is a week show for this week, but I will be back on my own channel next week, behance.net/Ryan Selvey. Plug myself.
These are fun. All right, cool. So, okay, great. So I'm just going to navigate to that quickly by doing that. All right. And then we'll add in these guys back in our footage folder, which honestly, I should have more organized, but we're moving fast. All right. Yep. So
thanks for the link, Wade. Appreciate it.
Let's do this as our opener. That's really intense, right?
Getting Game of Thrones vibes.
Do Game of Thrones. Should we open with this guy instead?
I like that guy better. It feels more present of the time to be able to capture it.
Cool.
Next time we have you on the show, I'd love to talk about this might be a little motion designy, but I still think that it relates to everything. I love breaking down the idea of show openers and how they kind of create an atmosphere for the narrative structure of
I would love that
given sort of thing. Like Game of Thrones, I always think of like that is such an iconic interest. But it also changes as the series unfolds, and like by the time it gets to like, you know, season 7 or 6, whichever one it was, they like changed it to then reflect the plot. So it was really cool.
So right now I'm just adding a little extra movement in. I went into my effects control. I added these points here.
And you just do that all with keyframes, right?
Pretty much. And then that just added a little bit of extra movement. And if we want to add in like another layer on top, we can. Let's go back to our Downton Abbey opening. Cool. Okay. It's a little more intense than what we've got going on.
I'm okay with it, though. Ours is less stressful. We have a more pleasant TV show. Okay.
I think we should go to this close up. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, I'm down for it. Is it a chicken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something that we probably should be thinking about, I mean, definitely want to think about when you're doing an opener is like, where is the text going to go? Is there enough empty space?
That's great.
And I'm not doing this necessarily on rhythm because it's classical music. I'm really more doing it on like musical phrases. Though it, of course, does have a rhythm.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was right on beat. You're like, I'm not doing it on rhythm, but then it's like,
I mean, if it's going by the musical phrase, it should be. Let's see. What do we want to? What do you think we should do next?
We gotta have that T on maybe that horse.
The T or the horse? That's what we're thinking.
Well, actually, I guess we shouldn't do food by food. We should do something else.
Yeah, let's break it up.
What is the one of the woman's face on
this
the
one?
bottom left? Yeah, what is this?
This is like an.
Oh yeah.
I just think this is just. Now it's a little tough for titles because it's a lot of white space, but I guess we'll put a title here. So let's see what part do we?
Also running out of time for titles, so we're gonna have to fly.
Right, exactly. It's not gonna. We won't have her looking at the camera, so we'll just. She looks away.
Okay, so what are you doing now? You are
oh, right.
doing it in a preview panel, and
yes. So I'm creating my in and out points. That's our selection that we're going to bring down, right?
That's with I and O, right?
I and O, and then there's also Shift I believe. Yeah, Shift I is going to bring you to your in and out points. I have them hotkeyed on my mouse. I recommend for sure getting a mouse with some hotkeys if you're an editor. You just want to like not move your hands as much as possible, pretty much.
Yep. And then how did you import that into the timeline? You just press enter?
I just pressed no, I pressed comma and period. One is overwrite and one is insert because I don't have any in and out points selected on my sequence. This is my sequence. This is my source. It's really important. This is my sequence here.
Okay.
This is my source. You really want to make sure that you're clear about that and what you're navigating what, but I don't have any in and out points set on here. So it's just going to put it at wherever I have my line and have it at the end. So it doesn't matter if I'm inserting or overwriting because there's nothing to overwrite. Okay. And there's nothing to insert between. So it's just going to put it on the line. But that is an important distinction as an editor that you want to be aware. Am I inserting? Am I overwriting? So yeah, so there's that. Let's see what we got. Always rewatching. I love this. Okay. All right. So I'm thinking since we were so bright, I kind of want to do like maybe. Is this enough?
I like the chandelier. Chandelier could work.
It's just, yeah.
And so you like to go from an extremely light scene to an extremely dark scene to kind of create different.
I like contrast. Yeah.
Contrast. Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, you can already kind of see that from the chicken to the bright one, to the dark one again.
Also, in an intro, what I'm trying to do is like, what are the themes? Like, if we go back to that intro that I made with Austin, it was like the themes were monsters, time travel, and true crime, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to insert them in a way that you got all of them up at the front and then you kind of revisit the different themes throughout the opening. So I don't know what our themes are here necessarily, but I imagine they are working class, upper class kind of stuff. So we need to go back now, I would argue, to the working class, which would be like maybe the tea pouring. Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's also great.
So
let's throw this in and then we can throw some text in because we got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
But I think this is already looking really great.
Also, like something that I tend to do a lot if I'm trying to get the rhythm, and I need for rhythm. Sometimes I'll go as far as adding a metronome, but sometimes I'll just match up to the clip, right? And
right.
Most likely it'll be fine, but you definitely want to double check that. It's not always perfect. All right, so let's say that this is our opener since we want to get to titles. All right, cool. So
they just do like a dissolve in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like kind of a blurry dissolve in, and you can get more advanced. And this is in After Effects, of course. Like,
yes.
That's probably what you'd want to do for the most part. But let's say that we're doing this all in Premiere. So they've got a new titles thing. Actually, I'm not the most familiar with. Oh no, it's bringing me in here. Oh, that's how you get the fonts. I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
It might be in your media thing. Oh yeah, new.
No, it's fine. New legacy title. All right. So who is our first name that we're pulling?
Let's do Elizabeth Mock because she gave some suggestions.
How do you spell her last name?
Mock.
Okay, and then I like to just do this. Of course, Control Alt A is Control C. So now I can make sure that this little guy is going to come up. I'm going to put him there because that's where we're going to be modeling it. And then I want to put Elizabeth on this left side of this frame. All right, right. I copied and pasted. Yeah, there. Elizabeth Mock. There she is. Obviously, that's not the font that we want to go for. We want to go for this kind of, what's the word? Serif. What is it? Serif?
Serif has the extra parts on it.
Yeah, we want serif. Yeah, we want a serif font of some kind that looks like it could. That one looks pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, that's strong.
Cool. So now I'm just going
to place it in the spot where you want it on the composition, and then it will create a invisible layer that has the type like built in a space that is the size of the composition.
Say again.
Oh, I was just basically what you're doing right now is you're building a 1920 by 1080 composition rather than just a single, like on After Effects, when you build out a type or a title, it's like built to the size of the type. Whereas if you build out the type within Premiere, it's going to build a full transparent screen that then is the aspect ratio of whatever you're working in. And you define where you want it on the screen in this text editor rather than like in the timeline itself.
Yeah, you could do both. Like a lot of times I'll get it kind of where I want it there. And then maybe I'd probably manipulate it here. But you remember, this Adobe Stock isn't going to be there. And I think that is a nice spot for it. I kind of like it. See that? I'll come in here and kind of rearrange it just a little bit. But I kind of like it like in those dark trees because you can read it better.
Yeah.
And then,
cool. All right. Unfortunately, I think we are at time though.
Oh no!
But I think we made some serious progress. I mean, we did that. We did all this right here. You just want to do a quick little playthrough, and then oh, look at that!
It looks good. Like you can see where we're going with it.
We're going with a good place. We'll have to finish it the next time you're on the show.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for being here, guys. Once again, Zach Bromberg, are you available for hire?
I am so available.
So available for hire. So hit him up off of ZacharyBromberg.com. Video editor, producer, writer.
Also, my email address is ZacharyBromberg@gmail.com. You can email me directly for work. Or if you just have questions about editing, happy to help if I can.
Yeah. Thanks so much. And thank you for teaching us so much. I learned a lot today. And it was a pleasure having you, man.
Me too. Love you, buddy.
You too. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.
Go.